if Jerry Jones, gets on social media, but word got back to him from, what CeeDee Lamb and Michael Parsons clearly said, because, obviously, listen, in negotiation, you don't want to be, you don't want to have your negotiation going through the media or anything like that. But this whole notion of, I miss you, but I don't miss you, the hell you do. Like, you miss CeeDee Lamb, okay? You're talking about the one true difference maker you have on the offensive side of the football. The one true difference maker. And Harry, I don't know why this is so hard. Why is it so hard for Jerry Jones to get this thing done? Okay, because I think that CeeDee Lamb, we could be seeing a situation like Emmitt Smith did back in the day. Emmitt Smith back in the day, I think in 1993, he missed like the first couple games.
Enrolled in classes at the University of Florida.
That's right. That's right. All because of a contract dispute. We could see the same thing with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb has all the leverage right here. There's no question about that. So this whole negotiation with Jerry Jones and CeeDee Lamb and some of the other stars is a complete head scratcher. I've seen the Philadelphia Eagles sign Saquon Barkley, both of their receivers. I've seen the Miami Dolphins sign, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Like, I've seen all these other clubs make moves besides Jerry Jones. I'm sorry, you're the one that said that you're all in. Does this look like a team that's all in to try to win a Super Bowl? I'm seeing other teams in the NFC getting the job done. So complete head scratcher from Jerry Jones.
There's one team in the NFC that doesn't have a proven number one wide receiver on their football team. That's the Carolina Panthers. All respect to Adam Thielen. He's fantastic. He's had an unbelievable career. He's not a proven one. The other team without CeeDee Lamb would be the Dallas Cowboys. That's how important he is to this football team. He's their unquestioned number one wide receiver. And if CeeDee doesn't play, they become offensively a team like the Carolina Panthers that doesn't have a proven number one wide receiver. Last year, 181 targets. He was first in the NFL. Last year, 135 catches. He was first in the NFL. Last year, 596 route run. He was top 5 in the NFL. So to think that CeeDee Lamb can miss this time and it's not going to have a butterfly effect on the quarterback's performance, the offense's performance, or his own is unrealistic. We can't expect that same type of volume, that same type of production, unless they get him into camp. And we can sit here and say, well, the season's still a couple weeks, almost 4 weeks away, but camp's been going on for almost 2. At some point, in the last time, Harry, you know this, the last time we saw CeeDee on the field with Dak Prescott, what did it look like?
Didn't look good at all.
It didn't look like they were on the same page.
Yep.
It didn't look like they were seeing things the same way. And so for the folks who want to say, well, CeeDee Lamb's just going to step in and he knows this offense, they still need reps. They still need to erase what was the last time that they were on the field and get on that same page on a consistent basis. So I agree with Woody. The Get Up put a graphic up this morning of the 10 receivers that have been paid this offseason. 8 of them were the only 2 that weren't second contract guys were, I think, DJ Moore and Cooper Kupp. But 5 of the 10 were guys that were on their rookie deals. Amon-Ra, Jalen, Justin Jefferson, Devontae. For some reason, the Cowboys just won't get this deal done. And we don't know exactly why. I do know for them to have any shot, they got to.
First thing I would say is the PR team for the Dallas Cowboys, they have to be getting paid a tremendous amount of money.
Many dollars.
They're plenty nice, so they're probably not even sleeping. And I know they got that bottle sitting right there by the bed, because this is what happens when you are on the PR team working for the Dallas Cowboys, because it's always going to be sound bites. It's always going to be, how can I one up? And it's mainly the circus versus the football when we think about this organization. And when you look at a guy like CeeDee Lamb and Dio and Woody, I want y'all to understand this. Game number 1, they play the Cleveland Browns, who has a defensive coordinator in Jim Schwartz. Let me remind people in 2023 what happened week 1 for the Cleveland Browns when they went and played the Cincinnati Bengals, who had a Jamar Chase, who had a T. Higgins, who had a Joe Burrow. Jim Schwartz said he basically didn't give a damn about who was on that other side of the football. He had the personnel, defensive line-wise, linebacker-wise, secondary-wise, to play man coverage and blitz, all out, hands down. So if there's no CeeDee Lamb for the Dallas Cowboys week 1, and you got to go up and play against a Jim Schwartz, what do you think the Cleveland Browns are going to do to that offensive unit?
Murder.
It's going to be an abomination. It's going to be terrible. So for a guy like Jerry Jones to not already, when you have the list ahead of you and everything is already slotted, from Justin Jefferson to A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the list is right there. So it's easy to get the deal done. My thing is if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm not banking on anybody beating me for the Dallas Cowboys offensively if CeeDee Lamb isn't there.
Harry, but he's not JJ, right? That's all due respect.
Yep.
He's not JJ. He's probably very similar, and he's not Reek. He's probably very similar production to an A.J. Brown, right?
Well, the difference between, I would say, a CeeDee Lamb and an A.J. Brown is that you have a CeeDee Lamb that can play every single wide receiver spot. And when you talk about the explosiveness, he's a guy that can catch a 5-6 yard route, and it can go the distance. We got to remember, he started off doing punt returns, and I remember covering him at Oklahoma. Oklahoma just had to get the football in his hands, and that's one of the things that attracted Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys to CeeDee Lamb. That's why they drafted him. It's been no different as a wide receiver with the Dallas Cowboys organization. So if you have a guy that you can line up outside in the slot, put in the backfield, motion, and can give you a competitive advantage versus your opponent,
sure,
I got to pay that guy.
But are you paying him more than Justin?
Me personally, no. I think he should be at least second or third when it comes to wide receiver money in that market.
But listen, but my thing is this: if you're CeeDee Lamb's like, why shouldn't I get paid more than
correct?
Justin
we do
Jefferson?
It with quarterbacks.
Their numbers are comparable to one another. So I'm sure CeeDee Lamb like, listen, I'm here to keep pushing the numbers up.
Yeah.
I'm not here to take anything under Justin Jefferson. I need to keep elevating our group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Dan and HD kind of touch on this, Damien. How does CeeDee's absence affect Dak, especially when you look ahead to the season?
Have we looked at the depth chart of the wide receivers on the Dallas Cowboys? It is disgusting. I mean, we're talking about, listen, from last year, CeeDee Lamb had 1,100 more yards than their number two wide receiver, Brandon Cooks. So, that's a lot of production that's not on the field. And Dan brought up a good point here, okay? CeeDee Lamb, we've seen time and time again when guys show up late to camp, when they're having prolonged holdouts, you know what happens?
Yeah.
They get hurt. Soft tissue injuries. I've seen it happen all the time. Guys pull a hamstring, then they're out for weeks. That's why it's so important. People talk about training camp, and trust me, I didn't like training camp, but training camp was a necessary evil because you got to get in football shape. Mm-hmm. And so the longer this thing goes, the worse it is for Dak, the worse it is for CeeDee Lamb, and the worse it is for the Dallas Cowboys as a whole.
I would say this: when you look at the wide receiver position, I don't think there's another position on the field that runs more than receivers.
Yeah.
Right. So now, if he's not a part of training camp and he isn't getting those game reps, now you have to monitor CeeDee Lamb when he comes back to make sure he doesn't have those soft tissue injuries, because there's nothing you're going to be able to do to imitate what the game is going to be like from a physical standpoint and also from a conditioning standpoint. So that's another hurdle that they're going to have to climb if this goes into the season, or even if CeeDee Lamb comes back for the first game. You can't go out there and say we're going to play him the entire game. You're going to have to monitor those reps because you don't want it to come back and hurt you in the long run and derail your season that he has a hamstring or something else that may be wrong.
Yeah, Harry, that's kind of what I brought up those numbers before. 181 targets, 596 routes run. You're not going to expect that if he misses any more significant amount of time. If CeeDee's absence right now is putting Dak in more of a walk the plank type of situation by yourself. We all know that this is essentially a lame duck, prove it or get gone type of season for Dak Prescott, whether it's the philosophy of the organization or whether it's Dak's belief that he may want to leave. So without his guy there, if you're Dak Prescott, you're sitting there going, dude, I have all these expectations on me, and Jerry wants me to go prove it in the biggest moments and get it done when I haven't been able to. I don't have the guy that gives me the best chance to get that done. Woody, to your point, Brandon Cooks is a really good wide receiver. He's had a great career, but he's not CeeDee Lamb. I love Ferguson, their young tight end. I think but he's not. He hasn't ascended into that Travis Kelce, George Kittle world. So behind CeeDee, there's a little bit of like, uh-oh. And so there's this expectation on Dak Prescott. And Harry, you touch on it. Dude, week 1's Cleveland. Week 2's New Orleans. Don't play around in New Orleans defense. Week 3, they got Baltimore. Week 4, they play the Giants with the addition of Brian Burns and Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence. As a quarterback, you're sitting there going, someone's got to get open with these defensive lines. Then they play Pittsburgh and Detroit. So every day that this goes on, the beginning part of their schedule pre-bye becomes a very real of like, uh-oh, we could get off to a really bad start if we don't have our playmaker on the outside.